a Jersey girl. I felt like I had to go with Bruce. Good morning. I'm excited to be here with you all and honored to be in this amazing company. For the last 4 years at Learner Studio, we've asked leaders to zero in on this focal question. What do young people need to be inspired and prepared to flourish in the age of AI as individuals, in careers, and for democracy? And you'll often hear us talk about the 3 horizons of systems change, and I am going to talk about systems change. But today, I'm going to focus in on the question, are we ready to work together to re-architect the system to give flourishing to all our young people? So let's get more specific. Right now, as you've heard from others and you've experienced yourself, most of our schools and systems prevent or penalize the kind of agency, curiosity, and sustained attention our kids need to develop the discernment and the critical thinking they need for the age of AI. So let's get personal here for a minute. These are my 2 kids, Grace and Joy. And I'm going to talk about Grace. She's a senior in high school. She volunteers at a food pantry. She serves on a local nonprofit board. She has a part-time job teaching kids to swim. None of the durable skills she develops in that experiential learning gets credited on her transcript. In 8th grade, she came to me and said, I found this program. I could take off the month of May and go write a whole novel. Can I do it? Talked about it, said sure, went to the district. No, we'll give you incompletes on her transcript. And they held her transcript hostage and wanted her butt in that seat for the month of May. They couldn't enable her agency, and they didn't have a way to let her demonstrate mastery. As a junior, she came to me last year and said, Mom, I really want to read whole books, but I'm supposed to take AP language, and they give us excerpts. Can I take a regular literature class so that I can read whole books? And I had literally that same week read an article that you all probably saw that said kids are arriving in college unable to sustain their attention to read a whole book. So we said yes. But the reality is the UC college admissions algorithm penalized her for that. I want every parent and caregiver in this room to think for a minute about the things that you do to enable flourishing in your own kids. When I ask parents this, sometimes school stuff comes up, my kid's going to Nueva, or I moved to be near this charter school, or my amazing district school does this. But actually, more often what comes up is things like scouts, camps, gap years, internships, maker spaces, private sports clubs, things around the old version of schooling. Places that give their kids time to develop agency, purpose, passion, sustained attention, and confidence that what they do matters. Why are we letting flourishing become a privilege that parents are cobbling together as best they can? I don't fault any of us for doing that, but we need to step up and re-architect the system to deliver flourishing for every child. So we know that AI is what's called an arrival technology. That means it's permeating everything. It's going to change everything. But that also means it's opening a rare window for us to re-architect the system. Right now, we see 2 worldviews competing to define the future. One we call techno-nihilism. So that's the extreme tech position that says efficiency is the most important goal. Anything AI can do faster than a human, it should. Learning is just content delivery. So hyper-personalized tutor bots make sense. Although interestingly, not for their own kids. In reaction to that, we've got what we call nostalgic humanists. Go back to nature. Ban the screens has become an applause line. But the problem with that is then our kids aren't prepared to be creators and leaders who can drive the future that's tech-infused. Both of these worldviews are insufficient to sustain humanity and to sustain democracy. So we have to create a middle way. We're calling it human flourishing, and we want us to center 3 values. The first, human agency. So that means what you've heard here. Learners have agency to drive their own learning pathway, but also humans have agency over the technology. Second, human connection. Seems obvious, but we have to say it. This is where you get identity and self-worth, relationships and belonging, shared purpose in community. And the third, human sustainability. So by that we mean the knowledge and the skills we need to create a positive future for humanity and democracy, including both the individual good of the learner and the common good. If we don't define this destination, we're ceding powers to others who are defining it for us. So the good news is Components of learning to flourish are already happening in pockets. You've already heard about some of them here. Examples that we're supporting include OneStone, Forest, Flourish Schools, Sora, Big Picture Learning, DaVinci, DTech, RevX, Building 21, Valor, and the Play Lab schools you'll hear about later. The lab schools are designing for it. So we know people are moving in this direction. But how do we collaborate for systems change? We think we need to do 3 things. Center human flourishing. Name what we're building toward. Socialize the language and agree on some metrics. The Harvard-Chan study on flourishing has 6 components. That's a good place to start. Reorient the system to meet the moment. More agentic learning models, as Francis said. Mastery-based progressions, as Oliver said. Credit for real-world learning. Modernize the knowledge and skills we're asking for and ground it in what we know about the science of learning and development. That lets us have diverse educator roles, and it lets us right-size human-centered technology. Around that, we need to develop an aligned operating system, because none of this holds if it's in the old infrastructure. Portable records with AI safety baked in. Learners have to own their own data. We need weighted funding formulas that learners can control and have power over, and flexible and adaptive measures. The really good news is there are people working on every single one of those puzzle pieces right now. So when we get it right, what does it feel like? Well, you've already heard some great examples of it. We have brought learners into design sprints with us and done empathy interviews and talked with young people in our portfolio. And basically what they say is, in the old system, I really couldn't flourish. I was too constrained. I didn't have agency. But in this new way of learning, the Horizon 3 agentic learning, I know I can do great things. I know I can choose to push myself, and I can do hard things and succeed. We can do hard things too. I'm going to go off script and tell you, in our very first year at Teach for America, we had 100 campus representatives come together. And there are now almost 40,000 alumni around this country, many of whom are in this room, by the way. Teach for America alumni in this room. And in our very first NewSchools Summit at Coverly Auditorium, we had 100 leaders. And look at what we have here in terms of energy. So the AI is changing. It's going to change with or without us. So I just want us to know it is possible for us to re-architect the system so that we can inspire and prepare every young person to flourish in the age of AI. Let's work together to re-architect, and let's remember to center human agency, human connection, and human sustainability. Thank you.